You are listening to the Lone Star Community Radio on 104.5 KCZW LP Conroe and 106.1 KZCC LP Conroe and worldwide on irlonestar.com.
Thanks for visiting our archives for the Hispanic Chamber Connections radio program with Dr. Carlos Sanchez, president of the Woodlands-Conroe Hispanic Chamber of Commerce. Remember, we are live on Lone Star Community Radio every Tuesday from 1 to 2 p.m. If you have any questions, just reach out to us at the link below.
And good afternoon, this is Dr. Carlos Sanchez. This is the Hispanic Chamber Connection radio program for members of the Woodlands-Conroe, the Vintage Park, the Katy, the Galleria, and the Heights Hispanic Chamber of Commerce, where you don't have to be Hispanic to join, you only have to be interested. I'm here today with a great and wonderful person. Her name is Angie Smith. She's the owner of New Life Weight Loss Clinic. She'll explain a little bit what that is. But before we get into our program and into our show, I'd just like to tell you that we are a very, very fast-paced and quickly growing Hispanic Chamber of Commerce. I can tell you probably without reservation that we are one of the fastest growing Hispanic chambers in Texas, mainly because nobody keeps tabs of who's growing how fast. And I can claim that, but also because I know how many members we're signing up every day and all the time. And so keep that in mind. If you want to join our Chamber of Commerce, there are some things that will make you more successful than others as a chamber member. So I'd like to start with that real quick, because I made the mistake when I first started in Chambers of Commerce years ago of thinking that a chamber was going to give me something when I joined. Basically, I would join a Chamber of Commerce and say, okay, now they're going to get me business. They're going to help me be successful. And while they would help me be successful to a degree, they never got me business. That's not what Chambers of Commerce do. They don't expedite business. It's amazing that people join them thinking that, but that's the majority of our members. And if you're a member of some tenure with our chamber, you know that I tell you this all the time. If you want to be successful at this Chamber of Commerce or any Chamber of Commerce, here are 4 steps to follow. This will almost guarantee your success. Number 1, you must invite people to events. So you become a promoter of the chamber. You make it yours. Take ownership of it. Number 2, you must show up to events. So you can't just, your name in a directory is not going to get you business. That's all there is to it. I mean, if we have 25 realtors in our chamber and you're one of them, what's going to distinguish you from anybody else? And that's always going to be your presence. Right? So number 1, invite. Number 2, show up. Number 3, when you do show up, help other people. So don't show up asking for business. Show up asking, how can I help you? Right? That makes you to others a resource. And when you become a resource to other people, you exercise leadership, and they appreciate that, and that's how they can begin to reciprocate or give you business, right? And number 4, of course, is take advantage of your benefits. Don't just leave the benefits there. I talk about this all the time. If our members compared us to any Chamber of Commerce in this region, English or Spanish or whatever, it's an unfair comparison because we have way better benefits for our members. Benefits including things like training. Like tomorrow we have 60-second commercial training. It's free for our members. But then we have presentation skills training, sales training, marketing analysis to help you with your products and services. So there's all these other things. Remembering, you don't have to be Hispanic to join, and these are some of the things that you can do. So number 1, always invite. Number 2, show up. 3, help others. And 4, get better, use the benefits, and that will make you successful. So I was telling you earlier, we're here with Angie Smith. Angie, thanks for being on the show.
Thank you, Dr. Carlos.
And it's great that you're here today.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here.
Was it okay? Was the drive here okay, Angie?
Yes, it was actually not too bad.
So we're right here in the heart of Conroe, Texas.
That's right.
And we can overseeing downtown almost.
Yes.
And it's a wonderful. I mean, do you ever come to Conroe just to visit and you're familiar with Conroe?
Yes, not to the level that I'm sure you are. I've come here a few times. I think this is actually the first time I've been to the downtown area, and I'm really impressed with it.
Oh, it's beautiful.
Yes.
The thing I like about Conroe is that it's still a quaint, it's still a town, people still know each other.
Yes.
And it just reminds you of home. It's one of those things where you can feel safe.
Yes.
And that's unlike Houston, obviously, because Houston is just this gigantic thing. But I love Conroe because of that. Because
Yes.
whenever you come here, it just feels homey. It feels good.
Right. That is what it feels like.
Yeah. So I was going to tell you too. So great that you're on the show because you have so many different exciting things that in your background and
Yes.
and so many tips you can give our members and so many things you can talk about. Just so you know, the people listening to us now, right now at this moment, obviously are the membership and the people that tune into the show.
Right.
But then there's a lot of post productions, a lot of things that happen afterward, where you can be seen and heard in many different places.
Right.
So, so with that, let me explain a little bit about what's going on in the chamber. So we'll start with that. I'll tell you
Okay.
what's going on. We'll also talk about some other things. But right now, let me just tell you that today's Tuesday, so tomorrow,
Yes.
Wednesday, we have 60-second commercial training. Have you taken that already?
I have.
And has that helped you in any way?
Absolutely. It really changed the way that I delivered the information that I need to get across, and I feel like I have a much better message when people hear me say it the way that I was taught in that class versus the way I was doing it before. It's really made a difference.
You know, it's weird because as it is, people don't listen.
Right.
So a lot of people that we know network for a living. It's how they get business. They
Right.
network, and what they say makes a huge difference whether or not somebody even wants to talk to them.
Yes.
And when they say the same thing over and over again, or when they say things like, you know, my products are the best, or I'm going to make you money, or just stuff that people hear all the time, they don't get the response they want,
Right.
and then they blame the chamber. See, this is why we do this training. A lot of it is because I need to make sure our members know it really does depend on the person and the ability to communicate
Right.
whether or not they're going to be successful.
I totally agree.
All right. So anyway, we have that tomorrow from 8:30 to 11:30 at the office, the chamber office here in the Woodlands. Then on Thursday we have lunch,
Yes,
Vintage Park,
that's right.
and so you're the hostess there.
That's right.
I mean, you show up every week, and
Yep.
so where is that, and what is it like at that luncheon? What happens?
That luncheon is every Thursday at 11:30 at the Spring Creek Barbecue right there at Jones Road in 249. And it's a wonderful opportunity for people that own businesses that want to network with other business owners. It's not so much a place where you're going to look for actual customers. You're actually going there to look at other people to join with, to network to each other's groups of people that you know.
So
And
you're saying it's not about the food?
it's not about the food, but it's excellent food. I'll tell you that much.
So, and that's true. But that applies to anything. If you're in business and you network for business, if you're trying to promote your air conditioning company or you're trying to do something to get the word out,
Right.
and you go to events and there's food, don't eat the food because that just distracts you. Pigs in a blanket in your tummy do not digest well when you're nervous and trying to explain why they should do business with you.
True.
It's always, and I tell this to our people all the time. Okay, if you got to eat, you got to eat. All right.
Right.
But do the best you can to not sit in a corner eating, the nachos and everything else, because not only does that make you look a little bit hungry, but it distracts you.
Right.
So yeah, it really isn't about the food. Although yes, Spring Creek Barbecue has excellent barbecue, excellent food.
Yes.
I don't know if you've noticed this, but recently what members are doing now is getting there really early to eat, so that when we're doing the meeting, they're not eating anymore.
That's right.
And nobody likes to eat during the meeting.
Right.
So we have to look at that too, just to make sure people are comfortable.
Yeah.
Because some do arrive hungry,
Yes.
and then there's others who arrive not hungry, and that's important. We have to have a ratio of about 7 to 3. 7 people should be hungry, and 3 it's okay if they don't eat.
Right.
But it can't go beyond that because remember, Spring Creek Barbecue watches us.
Right.
And if people are not eating, they make faces.
Yeah.
Right? So that's another
great.
big deal. If you're listening and you show up to our events not hungry, I know I said don't eat, but you need to do the best you can to leave money on the table for these people because the restaurants open the doors for us for free.
Yes.
So we have to figure out. And where I really mean don't eat is at receptions.
Right.
Like when you have after hours appetizers and stuff like that. That's when it's really not a good idea.
Right.
Anyway, all right, so that's Thursday. On
right.
Friday, we have breakfast in Katy. You haven't come to the Katy one yet.
No, I haven't. I'm excited to come and visit one. I'm hoping maybe I can even come this Friday.
Friday morning, we sit around. No, we don't sit around. But about 20 members show up because Katy is growing very quickly.
Yes.
And it's the same thing. The kind of the meeting itself is run very similar in that There's a time for people to introduce themselves. There's times for them to talk about their business, and then we network. We talk to each other. Again, the most important thing about our meetings and about this meeting in particular is that we do ask our members to talk.
Yes.
I've gone to other events where they don't let me talk. I don't know if that's ever happened to you.
Absolutely.
That you show up and you're just a listener.
Yep.
And people say whatever they say, but they never give you the opportunity. Or there's other chambers and other events where there's hundreds of people there.
Yes.
And there's just no way you can give a commercial.
Right.
So what we try to do is take advantage of the fact that we're small, that we're growing, and hold meetings of 20 to 40 people.
Right.
So that everybody has an opportunity to say what's on their mind.
That's right. That's one of the biggest reasons I joined the chamber was because of the exposure
And it'll give you,
compared to some of the other chambers that
for
I've
sure.
visited.
And what we've noticed also is a lot of the chambers have just a different purpose. You know,
Right.
there's a different vision for the chamber itself. So anyway, Katie on Friday. Then on Friday afternoon, we have 60-second commercial training for Katie. What's interesting is that not a lot of people have signed up in Katie. The one we have here is sold out. It always sells out. I mean,
Yes.
the Woodlands, people here in the Woodlands and Conroe are very active.
Yes.
So it's sold out.
Right.
But in Katy, I think we still have a few chairs. So if you're listening and you're part of Katy, or you want to drive out to Katy and visit us, it starts at 11 a.m. from 11 to 12:30. 60-second commercial training for members only. This is the members only event.
Right.
And so these are some of the benefits the members get. And so we'll do that in Katy. Then, okay, of course, next week, Tuesday, we have our very first lunch here in the Woodlands-Conroe. That's going to be at Another Broken Egg on oh my God, I'm going to forget the name.
Portofino,
In
right?
Portofino,
Yes.
right. Another Broken Egg from 11:30 to 1 p.m. That's a members' lunch, but also visitors. And visitors, of course, are encouraged to show. And it's a big deal for us.
Right.
All right, so those are the events coming up next week. When we come back, Angie, we'll talk a little bit about your the whole idea of sugar addiction. That's fascinating. Because look at what I'm drinking now.
That's right.
So when we get back, we'll talk about that then. We'll be back in a few moments.
Lone Star Community Radio is ready for the summer. If you or anyone you know is looking for a summer internship, Lone Star Community Radio is a great place to learn the radio and TV business. Contact the station at info@irlonestar.com or call the station's message line at 936-647-3776. Lone Star Community Radio offers a great opportunity to those interested in learning about the radio world.
And we're back. This is Dr. Carlos Sanchez. This is the Hispanic Chamber Connection radio program for members of the Woodlands-Conroe, the Vintage Park, Katy, Galleria, and the Heights Hispanic Chamber of Commerce members. Of course, we take outside guests, but right now we're doing all our members because so many of them are very important and they also want and they have something to say. Not the least of which is our guest today. She's a special friend, a colleague, and she owns a weight loss clinic called New Life Weight Loss Clinic. It's out of Tomball. The biggest thing, Angie, that not the biggest thing, but among the many ideas that you work in and the many things you do, first I wanted to ask you, you distinguish between people who want and people who need
Correct.
to lose weight.
That's
Tell us
true.
about that distinction. Go ahead, please.
To me, there's a big distinction. There's a lot of people that need to lose weight, and there's a void between those people and the ones that are actually actively trying to lose weight. You know, I have people come to me sometimes and say, "Oh, I've got an aunt that needs to lose 50 pounds."
Right.
Well, if that aunt doesn't want to lose 50 pounds, then I don't really need to meet her. And in fact, when I have clients come in for their initial visit, I'm interviewing them almost as much as they're interviewing me.
Sure.
Because if I don't see the true desire to get the weight off and to make a lifestyle change, not a white knuckle, let me get these 50 pounds off so I can go back to my old ways.
Sure.
Because this is truly a lifestyle change, and that's what I'm looking for, people that are interested in making that change for a lifetime commitment of being thin and healthy.
So what do you do with the person who can't lose weight? Not that they don't want to lose weight, they just don't know how, that they're messed up a little bit in that, you know, that their habits are just so powerful.
Right.
How do you help them with that?
Well, you know, I spent 6 years being that person. It was a tormenting time for me because I wanted to lose weight and I tried everything I knew available to me to get there and nothing worked. What I didn't understand was my yo-yo dieting was actually making me fatter.
Sure.
And the reason is because when you go on these fad diets, you're not addressing the root cause of the weight gain, which is carb addiction. When you go on these fad diets, you're losing as much, if not more, lean mass as the fat.
Okay.
So when you go back to eating and gaining the weight back, you're not gaining lean and fat, you're gaining fat plus more.
So let me ask you this, and how does a person know if they're addicted to carbs? How do I know? I mean, I know that there's a time during the day where I think about something sweet.
Right. I can tell you it's very scientific.
Well, okay.
When you go over 6.5 teaspoons of carbs a day, you trigger the addiction in the brain. 6.5 teaspoons is around 24 to 25 grams of carbs. Now,
Don't know what that is.
Actually, it's 4 grams equals 1 teaspoon, and just about every label you read will tell you how many carbs are in that by grams. And so you trigger that addiction once you go past that mark.
So if I eat waffles with maple syrup and pancakes or whatever in the morning,
yes,
that's it. I'm triggering it?
Absolutely. There is no way you did not go over 6.5 teaspoons of sugar in that. And when I say sugar, I'm not talking about just something sweet.
Right.
Anything that is carbs, especially when a person's in metabolic syndrome, their body will convert it to sugar.
For example, pastas and breads
Potatoes.
and stuff like that. Potatoes. Oh,
Yes.
man. So if it's hash browns and pancakes, it's like a double whammy.
Absolutely.
Wow.
When I was in my heavy state, I would get up and have what I thought was a very healthy smoothie because I was using, the Greek yogurt and the good peanut butter and the fruit. I was having 10 teaspoons of sugar in my breakfast alone. So once I got finished with breakfast, that carb addiction was already triggered.
So that's why you would drive to work and you'd be vibrating
Absolutely.
the whole time.
I would be starving by lunchtime. And I wasn't starving for protein and vegetables. I was starving for carbs.
Wow. Okay. So again, just to understand, we're talking to Angie Smith, the owner of New Life Weight Loss Clinic.
Correct.
She at one point was extremely, 80 pounds overweight.
Yes.
And she understands in depth the idea that it's harder than people think, but it's also very simple to lose weight.
Yes.
It's not a big deal if you follow the right path.
Absolutely.
Yours is doctor supervised. Is that correct?
Absolutely. It is medically supervised. It was developed over 30 years ago by a doctor out of France. The program, not only is it, I consider it a scientific formula. He figured out what to feed the body and when to get the body to turn to its fat stores and not the lean mass.
Okay.
But to me, the genius behind the program is I'm monitoring my clients' lean mass as they lose weight.
Right.
So while that person's losing weight, I can tell them where the weight's coming from, if it's coming from their fat stores versus their lean mass.
Okay.
If it does start coming from the lean mass, I can tweak the program for them to make sure that the body starts going back to the fat and not the lean.
Okay. All right. So let's go back again to sugar addiction.
Yes.
Is this safe to say then that most children are addicted to sugar as well?
Absolutely. I highly recommend any of these listeners that are listening today that might listen in the future. If you have Netflix, watch a movie called Fed Up. It's a documentary by Katie Couric, and it will absolutely explain the carb addiction that's going on in this country, and what the sugar industry is doing to our country is very similar to what the nicotine and the tobacco industry was doing back
And the
in the
pharmaceutical industry. And
Absolutely.
just can't say that too much because,
Yes.
they're listening. But
Yes.
still, all right. So to help people get off the sugar addiction,
Yes.
are there any specific treatments that you offer? Is there something, because I can follow the diet,
Right.
but I'm still going to have that thing in my mind saying,
Yes.
eat whatever.
No, you're right. And that's why this program is not just a diet per se. It is an eating lifestyle change, but it also comes with intensive coaching. So I meet with my clients weekly. I work with them on the mental aspect of their eating behaviors, not just the physical eating, because unless you change the mindset, it won't be permanent.
Right.
And that lends itself to the maintenance side of the program, which is an amazing program, because by the time a person gets into maintenance, they are not on our products anymore. They're back in the real world eating real foods, and I walk them through how to keep the weight off, not just to get the weight off.
So what do you mean by products?
Well, we have products that are 98% absorbable protein. They come in over 85 food choices. You might find some chips that you like. I personally would have a Rice Krispie treat every single morning with my coffee because I liked the sweet with my coffee, but it looked like a Rice Krispie treat, tasted like one. It was 98% absorbable protein. So my palate was also being pleased, so to speak, as I went through the program. That's why I was able to stay on it for 7 solid months without cheating one time.
So do you have like protein-based tacos?
Well, you can actually make those yourself without the tortilla chips.
Okay, no chips, no tortillas.
That's
but
right.
Just a taco without a tortilla, well, that's just stuff.
Well, let me tell you what. We have nacho dorados that you can use as the chip. So
Okay.
trust me, there's a million ways you can get around some of those addictions that you crave. I have all kinds of solutions for those.
What about candy and stuff like that? Like, well, you have stuff that's hard.
Right. One of the things that I think is important to point out, because you do keep bringing up the different foods that people crave. The cravings that people experience when they're in carb addiction are driven by the addiction.
Right.
If you see a brain that is on carbs versus one that's on cocaine, they are both identical in the part of the brain that's stimulated. Okay, so when you detox from the carbs on the program, you will be amazed at the lack of cravings. I couldn't believe how I had the power and the willpower that was back in my life. I kept thinking I had lost my willpower. What I didn't understand is when you're in addiction, you have no willpower.
Right. So how do you talk to someone who doesn't have willpower?
Well,
that wants to lose weight?
you have to first make up your mind
Okay.
that you're going to get through the detox part of this program. It takes about 2 to 3 days
Wow.
for your body to detox from the carbs. Once you get past that 3rd day, you will be shocked at the difference in your ability to say no to the things that you were used to you could not say no to.
Okay, and you coach them through that?
Yes.
For sure. All right, so give me your phone number, Angie. How can somebody call you?
Absolutely. It is 713-679-3712.
Okay. So we're talking to Angie Smith with New Life Weight Loss Clinics. She's talking to us about weight loss and about sugar addiction and about protein and about different products and the success you've had with your different clients. You yourself lost 80 pounds.
Yes.
And you're still losing, you're still working at the things like that. What happens when somebody decides that, okay, tomorrow that's it, it's all over, I'm doing this?
Yes.
What's the procedure in essence? I call you, and what do you do to me the first day?
Well, what I do the first meeting is a 1-hour free consultation, because here's the gist of the program. You need to come in and sit down with me and let me share with you what's going to be required on your side. That is why I say I'm interviewing that person
Right.
as much as they are me, because at the end of that 1-hour conversation, that person's going to know whether they have whatever it takes within them to stick to the program, because it is an uncompromising program.
What do you mean?
As far as you don't get on this program and play with it. It's like I tell people, it's a scientific formula, and it truly is scientific in the sense that if you are a human being and you get on this program, you're going to see the same results, maybe in a different time set than I did. But it's physiologically impossible to follow the program and not eventually get to where you need to as far as your fat percentage goes.
So the people that come to you that are not losing weight but are on the program are cheating.
100%. 100%.
So they are eating that extra slice or that slice or doing something that's causing.
Right. And I can tell you that one of the biggest mistakes people make is because they're coming from a perspective that we've been taught. I was taught my whole life, eat less, exercise more.
Sure.
That is not the way to lose weight.
Okay.
And so people will try to skip meals, and they will be shocked at how it works against them on the program.
Okay. So, well, and that's another thing, discipline.
Yes.
Because so many of us skip breakfast.
Yes.
It's easy
I
to
did
skip
all the
breakfast.
time when I was heavy.
Right.
Absolutely.
Okay. So that's one of the problems that you ask people that are overweight, do you have breakfast? And they'll say no. So
Right.
how do you? And they'll say, I wake up in the morning and I'm not hungry.
Right.
So how do you make them hungry? What do you do for them?
Well, it becomes a form of discipline.
Mm-hmm.
I instruct my clients that they are to eat their breakfast within an hour of waking. Now, when I say breakfast, we're talking about a packet of food that's not going to be filling their stomachs to, make them feel miserable for the rest of the day.
Right, like the astronauts.
Exactly. It's dehydrated protein and put in different forms. And so they are required, if they want to do the program, they're required to eat that breakfast packet within an hour of waking, because that gets the bodies some energy to get to the lunchtime. And so they're going to be eating throughout the day
Very good.
smaller meals.
So we're here with Angie Smith with New Life Weight Loss Clinic, talking about weight loss, sugar addiction, and some of the procedures she follows for helping her customers lose weight. She herself lost 80 pounds. So if you're interested in talking to Angie a little bit more, the number is 713-679-3712. When we get back, we're going to talk more about just in essence what is the weight loss clinic, how it works, where it's located, things like that. So Angie, we'll be right back in a few moments.
A Lone Star Community Radio is looking for those who are interested in hosting their own talk show, with monthly and weekly slots available on Conroe's FM 104.5, 106.1, and on irlonestar.com. Start your own podcast, create your first YouTube channel, and be on TV. Contact Lone Star Community Radio online at irlonestar.com or call the station message line at 936-647-3776 to take your first step into the radio world.
And we're back. This is Dr. Carlos Sanchez. This is the Hispanic Chamber Connection radio program designed for and featuring our members of the Woodlands-Conroe Hispanic Chamber of Commerce, and also the Vintage Park, the Katy, the Galleria, and the Heights Hispanic Chamber of Commerce, where our function is to help our business owners be more successful and connect with and thrive in one of the fastest growing markets in America, which is the Hispanic market. Obviously, today we're working and talking to someone who is not Hispanic. Her name is Angie Smith. She's with New Life Weight Loss Clinics. But Angie's interested in the market, and that's all it takes. You don't have to be Hispanic. You have to be someone who's willing to show up to events that do include a pretty good amount of diversity, but that's what our country is. And we talk about everything that has to do with business and help you be that bridge between cultures. So we're talking to Angie about her procedures and basically her protocol and everything else. So what I'd like to do, Angie, if you would, is just ask you a couple more questions about what a person would do to sign up with you.
Okay, so the best way to do that is to call the number 713-679-3712, and I would set up a 1-hour consultation that is free. They would come in, I would sit down with them, explain the entire program, discuss the things that they've done in the past that maybe haven't worked, and explain why this will.
Okay, so Angie, could you tell us once again, if you would, tell us the name of your company and just kind of what you do.
Okay, the name of the clinic is New Life Weight Loss Clinic. I have a location in Tomball. I also have another location in the Vintage Park area. And I work a program called Ideal Protein that is out of Canada. It is medically supervised. And I not only show the clients the program, but I also work with them to make sure that they're following it correctly, and I monitor them weekly so that accountability is there on their side to me.
Okay, and what are the results that you've seen?
I've seen amazing results. I have one client that has lost 103 pounds in 10 months. I have another client that has lost 70 pounds in 8 months. The program is, like I said before, medically supervised. It also is scientific. What I'm seeing is an average of 2 to 3 pounds of weight loss a week, but that is a continuing weight loss. A lot of programs, you'll get on them in the beginning and you might drop 5-10 pounds, but then they just stall out on you and they quit working. And there's a reason behind that.
Okay. So if someone wants to contact you, how do they do it?
They call me at 713-679-3712.
Do you have a website?
I do. It's www.mynewlifediet.com.
Very good. So let's say, for example, all right, I'm ready. I'm done.
Yes.
I have 30 or 40 pounds over what I want to weigh.
Yes.
And my doctor said I'm pre-diabetic.
Yes.
And I need to see someone to help me with that.
Absolutely.
Do you ever read any kind of diagnosis from doctors or anything like that, or just basically what the client is telling you they need?
Absolutely. I have a client that was pre-diabetic for 6 years.
How do you be pre-diabetic for 6 years? Either are you aren't, I guess.
I think that's a little, I've heard arguments that pre-diabetic is actually diabetic. So in his case, his doctor kept warning him for 6 years that if he did not get the weight off, that he was going to actually end up with diabetes and on insulin. He got on my program. Now, he had only lost 10 pounds when he went back for his blood work. His glucose levels were already normal by the time he went back in.
Do you think it had to do with the detox thing?
Absolutely. Absolutely. When your pancreas is being overheated by the fact that you're eating so many carbs, your pancreas stops functioning properly, especially if you've noticed when people gain weight as they get older. That's because their pancreas can't handle the over-consumption of carbs the way it could when you were younger.
Okay. All right. So does it not have anything to do with the metabolism of the person? Or is it
absolutely. The metabolism is affected by that whole process. It's called metabolic syndrome. And when the pancreas is not functioning properly, the liver's not functioning properly, and the metabolism is basically non-existent.
Okay, so I'm at zero, and that's why it's so important to. Basically, what you're doing is you're rebooting your whole system with
Absolutely.
this, right?
By the time you go into maintenance, however long you've been on the program, your pancreas has been resting the entire time.
Okay, so why do they call it ideal protein? What is the ideal
That's
protein?
a good question, because a lot of your programs out there, say for example, there's other protein
Atkins.
Yes, Atkins
Eat
is a
steaks
perfect
and bacon,
example.
and that'll make you lose weight.
Absolutely.
Okay.
High protein diets are just as dangerous to the body as not enough protein. That is why the doctor named this ideal protein, because as he researched the body, his whole challenge was from the Olympic gymnastic team in France 30 years ago. When they were cutting for competition, they were losing lean mass at the same time they were cutting fat.
Sure.
He was a very well-known doctor over there. They went to him and said, can you come up with a program that helps our bodies just target the fat stores and leaves the lean mass alone?
Okay.
So that's how this got started. And part of that process is the ideal amount of protein. And certainly not all the fats that you're allowed to eat in some of these high-protein diets.
Okay, so you don't necessarily recommend, I imagine, the other diets.
No, absolutely not, because you will lose lean mass on
What
those
about
programs.
the Beyonce diet? We do that one all the time. Have you ever done the Beyonce diet?
No, I have
It's
never
called
even heard of
Well,
it.
it's a master cleanse. It's lemon with water and cayenne pepper and maple syrup, and you just drink that stuff all day. You don't eat anything, just that.
Right. And again, that's where I go back to my 6 years of what I tried. Okay. Those are called fad diets. Yes, you will drop weight. But let me tell you, you're not dropping just fat. You're dropping lean mass.
Okay.
And when you go back to eating, you will get fatter. I promise. It happened to me every single time.
Okay. So what's the explanation for that, though? Why do I get fatter
Because you lowered your metabolism by losing lean mass. It's kind of like an engine. You know, the bigger engine's going to burn more gas.
Sure.
Okay, so when you pull from the lean mass, let's say you take 10 pounds away from your lean mass, you just lowered your ability to burn fat by lowering the lean.
Okay.
And that's why it's so important to monitor that lean mass as you're on a program.
I see. Man, I have a big engine, so there you go. Okay. I get it. All right. So once again, if somebody's interested, if you're listening and you're not sure, do you do consult over the phone, Angie, or is it
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. Yes.
Can somebody do this diet and do all this virtually? Can they do it from long distances?
You know, actually, it's one of those kind of programs that you need the accountability. Now, we do have new scales and apps that have come out recently that does allow a person to maybe meet with me bi-weekly as opposed to every week, because they will now be able to monitor their lean mass in their own home with the scale that we are now supplying. So, it may not be a situation where you would have to come in physically every week, but I certainly meet by phone if they don't come in.
It just sounds almost tough, that part,
Right. It's a commitment. But, it's one of those kind of commitments that if you're really going to do this for the long haul and you don't want to go back to the old person, you need to come in and get the brain and the mind changed along with the eating habits.
Okay. Hopefully that's part of this whole thing that people are comfortable with.
Right. That's right.
And in the meantime, though, during those weeks that I'm on the diet and doing the monitoring and all that, I eat nothing but the Ideal Protein products.
Actually, the Ideal Protein products replace 2 meals. They replace the breakfast meal. They replace part of your lunch meal. You do add vegetables to the lunch packet.
Okay.
Dinner is 8 ounces of lean protein, 2 cups of vegetables. And then you will have one more packet before bedtime, which is your nighttime snack. It can be a dessert type packet, or it can even be chips, something along that line.
Do you remember the Slim Fast diet?
Absolutely.
Years and years ago, I did the Slim Fast diet, and you're supposed to drink like 8 shakes all day or something.
Right.
I would drink all 8 shakes before like 11 o'clock in the morning because they're good. They're really sweet. They're sugar based.
There you go. Yep.
How do I discipline myself to only eat, what is it, 8 ounces you said of lean
protein?
Okay,
at night.
so that's like a chicken or a small chicken breast. When I eat 4,
you'll be shocked at how much food that is. I can't tell you how many of my clients that come back the next week and they tell me I'm struggling getting all my food in at night. So I have to work with them on taking part of that protein and eating it between lunch and dinner and then finishing it off that night. It really is a lot more food than you realize.
Once you're off this whole addiction thing, I imagine that.
Absolutely. That, again, the culprit raises its ugly head when you realize what your eating habits right now are driven by addiction. And when that addiction is gone, you will be shocked at how you're really not as hungry as you thought you were.
Okay. All right. So all kinds of things happen as a result of making a decision.
Absolutely.
So it's 713-679-3712. Angie Smith with New Life Weight Loss Clinic out of Tomball and Vintage Park. If I live in Conroe, can I give you a buzz anyway?
Absolutely. There are Ideal Protein clinics all over the United States, all over the world, actually. So if I'm not convenient to a person, there's certainly other clinics that they can find that are much closer.
But you do have clients that are outside of the Tomball area?
Oh, yeah, definitely. I have people that come to me because they want me to coach them. They might work in the area, but they live further away. Sometimes they just make a special trip so they can come to my clinic. So definitely.
And the coaching you provide basically is accountability. It's understanding what I'm doing with the food and what it's doing to me and things like that.
Yes.
Okay. All right. So this is the Hispanic Chamber Connection radio program. I'm Dr. Carlos Sanchez. When we come back from break, Angie, we have one final big question for you, and that's tell us about the NFL and your cheerleading days, because Angie is a former cheerleader for the Dallas Cowboys and the Houston Oilers. So we'll talk about that when we come back in just a few minutes.
Our talk shows and music shows are looking for sponsors. Want to expand your brand awareness? Reach the hyperlocal audience in Montgomery County? Lone Star Community Radio sponsorships accomplish this. Want to see our stats and rates? Check out ourlonestar.com/sponsor for more information. Or call in and leave us a message at 936-647-3776 with your questions. Get seen on TV, YouTube, and heard on our podcast, FM, and internet radio. Support your local radio station with Lone Star Community Radio.
And we're back. This is Dr. Carlos Sanchez with the Hispanic Chamber Connection. I'm here with Angie Smith. Angie Smith is the owner of the New Life Weight Loss Clinic. Ideal protein-based. If you're interested in really losing weight, not just interested, but if you're committed to losing weight and you've made the decision that you're going to do what it takes, Angie is the person to talk to. You can call her at 713-679-3712. If you're fed up and ready to go, she will take you there. She's done it with herself. She's done it before. I've seen some of her customers, her clients have lost hundreds of pounds, and you could be next. So give Angie a buzz if you're ready to lose weight now. Okay, so I left this section on purpose to last, Angie, because Well, it's the most interesting part of this whole interview, and mainly because it's a fantasy, I think, of most people that I've met. It's really strange, and plus, being around you, I see the look in people's eyes when you say you're a former cheerleader for the NFL. You know, you're a former NFL cheerleader. And then when you say Dallas Cowboys, I mean, the guy's mouth's just kind of open, and you can see it. They're like, ooh, you know? So it's really interesting, the allure that has.
Right.
I know that you're still in touch with all your friends that are also cheerleaders.
Yes.
So who's, I know that Valerie, what's Valerie's last name?
Almengor was her name when she cheered. And she and I actually cheered for the Houston Oilers together, and then we both went to Dallas and cheered there. We were actually the first girls to be chosen for the Dallas Cowboy cheerleaders that had cheered for a former NFL team.
Really? They don't like to mix up? Or?
They did not. I was very shocked when I heard that they had never chosen anyone from a former NFL team.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like they don't like each other or something. They have secrets. So, but okay. So Valerie and Valerie now is the chief nursing officer for a medical center in
St. Luke's Vintage Park. Actually,
she's like a big deal.
Yes. Yes.
So certainly
absolutely.
being an NFL cheerleader does impact your life for sure.
Yes, absolutely.
How did you find it impact your confidence, Angie? How did you find it impact all that part of your life?
It was a huge confidence builder, because one of the things that you don't probably understand when you go into NFL cheerleading is you're not just out on the field dancing, but you have events that you're being hired to come sign autographs for businesses that are opening, so forth. I did one event with Earl Campbell.
Wow.
He and I sang "Mamas, Don't Let Your Babies Grow Up to Be Cowboys." So
okay, I'm sure that was interesting.
It was.
Okay. So tell us about the Houston Oilers cheerleading time that you spent. How long were you a cheerleader for them?
I was with the Houston Oilers for 2 years. That was the Love You Blue days, and it was an amazing time. It was the old stadium that's still there. But yeah, it was an amazing time, a wonderful group of girls. And, you know, what's really exciting is we still have an alumni that we get together and we keep up with each other. So it's wonderful. It's almost like a sisterhood.
So do you guys, I mean, are any of these ladies listening to you now, do you think?
I would think so, yes.
Say hello.
Hello, girls. I can't wait to see you in a couple of weeks.
What do you mean? Is there some kind of thing
Yeah,
we don't know about?
we're having a reunion in a couple of weeks in the Woodlands area, and I haven't seen some of these girls in a very long time.
Yeah, this is the this is the Houston
Yes,
girls.
this is the Houston. Yes, the Dallas Cowboy cheerleaders have reunions toward the end of the year, and we go to Texas Stadium, have dinner and dancing in the stadium. It's exciting.
So you mean dancing how do you mean dancing in the stadium? During a game?
Well, actually, they do allow the alumni to perform during certain halftimes. We have one in November that we'll be performing at, and when I say performing, of course, I'm not talking about being in the uniform.
Okay, so you're not doing that might not be a good picture.
I don't know if half of us can kick as high as we used to.
Yeah, without injuring yourself.
Exactly.
Because I can imagine it's the same with guys. I mean, you know, after a certain age, you don't lift your legs beyond
Yeah,
a certain
exactly.
point anymore. You know, okay. But
Yes.
all right. So, who were the bigger stars in the Houston Oilers when you were in your?
Well, Warren Moon was the quarterback.
Wow.
And like I said before, Earl Campbell was, that is one of the nicest people I think I've ever met. He was so down to earth, and for him to be as famous as he is,
Sure,
and to have all of the attention that he had coming out of UT and all the things that he did with Houston,
Right.
humble, very, very humble man, very kind.
And so, in preparation for that, I mean, like, how do you get selected to be a cheerleader? That's another big deal. So
You know, it's kind of a series of tryouts. You go out the first time, you know, with the Dallas Cowboys. You show up at Texas Stadium. There's thousands of girls there.
although now it's AT&T Stadium.
True, that's
Yeah,
true,
doesn't
very
matter.
true. But it's really kind of interesting because one of the first things they'll do is just put music on, and they just see who actually has rhythm, because you would be shocked at how many people show up that really can't even hear music and
And
hear
you're
the
supposed
beat.
to have rhythm to be a cheerleader?
I think so.
Yeah, otherwise you can't dance to the beat of. Okay, all right, so they make you dance. But what else? What else do they measure? What else do they look for? I mean, because you're very tall and you're very beautiful.
Thank you. No, they definitely look beyond the ability to dance. Mm-hmm. There's all kinds of criteria. You go through a series of interviews. They want you to be able to conduct yourself well in public.
That's
like
a big
I
deal.
said before, you are going in the public with that uniform on and representing that organization. They want to make sure you know how to speak and that you know how to present them properly. Mm-hmm. It's a lot of different types of things that they want to see in a person, not just the dance ability, the beauty, but the intelligence, the ability to
What
speak.
made you want to go from Houston to Dallas then?
It was just one of those things that
Was it Roger Staubach? Was he the quarterback at the time?
No.
Who was the quarterback?
It's funny you say that. I believe, I can't remember actually. Don't ask me that question. Mm-hmm. But no, I had been with the Houston Oilers for 2 years, and I really was wanting to move out of the Houston area and had no family anywhere else. And it just dawned on me, why not go up to Dallas, try out for the cheerleaders? If you make it, you have instant friends. And that's exactly what I did.
Wow. And so did you and Valerie conspire to go together, or did you go?
No, actually it was really different because I quit cheering for the Houston Oilers the year before she cheered. Okay. So I took a year off, and she was with the Oilers at that time. And then we both ended up in Dallas making the squad up there. That was actually the year that we played the Chicago Bears in London, England. And it was an awesome experience to be able to go to London and cheer in the Wembley Stadium.
But you didn't know Valerie then?
No, we met up there. In fact, she and I actually roomed together up there. We lived together up there.
Didn't even know her.
No.
And ended up and now she's right here in Vintage Park, and
yes.
you guys are again reunited.
And we've reconnected, and it's been wonderful.
So is she one of the people that you remember most right now? Of your
Yes,
experience?
absolutely. Absolutely, yes. Again, I have, friends with the Oilers, I have friends with the Cowboys, and I've gotten to reconnect with a lot of them over these past few years, and it's exciting to build those relationships.
So what do people tell you? For example, because I've seen, right?
Yes.
But whenever you walk into a room and you introduce yourself.
Yes.
And you say anything that has to do with the NFL, right away everybody looks up. But if you say NFL cheerleader, what has that done in terms of just for your career now as the owner of this weight loss clinic and things?
I think I personally think that my story helps a lot of people because, I came from a very glamorous time in my life. I had been in the Miss Texas pageant. I had done the NFL cheerleading. And guess what? Life happened. Right. And my body got very heavy very quickly.
You were addicted to chocolate, probably.
And a lot of other things. And, I think it helps for people to understand that happens to anyone. It can happen to anyone. Mm-hmm. And the lessons that I learned through that 6 years really helped me empathize with people that are going through that struggle. And I think it does help to speak to somebody that's been on both sides of the pit.
Sure.
And I know how to come down in that pit with that person, take their hand and lead them out because I've been there. Okay.
All right. So even now, are the standards just as strict now for cheerleaders as they were before?
Absolutely. I know that the Dallas Cowboys have a show that a lot of people watch, and people will always ask me, well, is it really like that? And it is. Mm-hmm. It's very, very difficult to make the squad.
But I've also heard they don't make any money.
The money is really not, of course, the reason people do it. Because if you knew how much they make, it is not very much.
Because I've had friends in Dallas who've cheered or tried.
Right.
And I can't even pay my rent. I can't, so.
No, you're required to be, especially with the Dallas Cowboys, you are required to either be a full-time student or have a full-time job along with the cheerleading.
Wow.
Yes, it's not to be something that you aspire to do as your career.
So why would you say the Dallas Cowboys do they have a different tradition than other cheerleading teams, or why are they a step above?
I don't know if you would always call it a step above. I mean, they're definitely...
Or seemingly a step above.
Yes, I mean, that is a top-notch, first-class group of girls.
So is Houston.
Absolutely, that's what I mean. Of course, I got to experience both of the best NFL cheerleading squads on the earth.
We're here with Angie Smith, former Dallas Cowboy and Houston Oilers cheerleader, NFL cheerleader. She's also with new Life Weight Loss Clinic. She can help you lose those extra pounds if you're ready to and if you've decided to. And she talked to us a little bit about sugar addiction, a little bit about what it's like to be on an ideal protein diet and why it matters so much. If you want more information, please contact Angie directly at 713-679-3712. And of course, she talked to us a little bit about her Dallas Cowboy and Houston Oilers cheerleading days. We're very thankful that you were on the show today, Angie.
Thank you.
So
Thank
much.
you for having me.
It was a very, very quick hour.
Yes,
we,
it was.
We appreciate your time. And we'd love to have you back sometime soon.
I would love that.
Talk to us more about your results and everything else. I'm Dr. Carlos Sanchez with the Hispanic Chamber Connection. And we look forward to seeing you next week, where we'll talk again about business, about life, and about things. We'll see you then. Thank you for being on this, with us today. And goodbye. Have a good week.
Thanks for checking out this podcast of Lone Star Community Radio, Montgomery County's community radio station. If you enjoyed this recording, make sure to check out our past shows online at irlonestar.com or their respective video or podcast formats on YouTube, Google Play, or iTunes. If you have any questions regarding the show, either it being about sponsorships or questions for the host, contact the station manager at dick@irlonestar.com or call the station at 936-647-3776. This show is recorded in downtown Conroe, Texas at the Lone Star Community Radio Studios, and Lone Star Community Radio reserves all rights to this recording and images.